Hi, this is Dan Henk, and welcome to another edition of the Skull Sessions. And today my guest is Lee Clark. Am I correct?
That's right.
All right, awesome. All right, Lee, so what do you have going on?
I'm an author of the Matthew Paine mystery series, and I just had the newest book, and actually it's the final book in that series, come out last month. It's called Killer Convergence. And it's kind of a wrap up of the whole series, but they do stand alone. So, if any listeners or viewers decide they want to go read it, they don't have to start at the beginning of the series for it to make sense.
So I take it Matthew Paine is like the main character.
Exactly. Matthew Paine is the protagonist, and he's a good guy. He's one of those people with great moral character and all of that. And so I threw him into some really rough situations. If Matthew could talk to me, he'd probably be pretty ticked with me because, I throw him into all kinds of stuff. But that was kind of the fun of developing it, is playing with the light and the darkness and the shadows, because nobody's all good. I mean, everybody has flaws. Everybody has a dark side. And I think that's what's so much fun about being an author, because it's cathartic. You can tap into that dark side and not do all the things that you go research and look up how to do, but you write about it and make other people do them. So that's always fun.
Right, well, people definitely like complex characters better than stereotype sorts. It's like they're stiff as a board. They're only one thing all the time. But
Yeah.
so what is Matthew Paine's pretty much what's his regular job? What is he like? Does he diverge from his regular job to do what's going on in your series, or is it like part of his regular job?
He does completely diverge. And in the beginning, I made Matthew a pretty boring person. He's just got this regular life. He's a family physician. He lives in a little small town outside of Raleigh, North Carolina. And then one day he has this gorgeous blonde woman show up in his office, and he walks in and she's completely naked, splayed out across his exam table, and he really doesn't know how to process this. I mean, he really just, it takes him a minute. So that was kind of the premise of, you take a
Is she
basic.
dead or is she alive?
No, she's alive at this point, but don't get too attached to her.
Uh, is
Because
she
then
unconscious or she's suddenly out of it?
no, she's a nudist. She lives in a nudist camp, and she figures that she doesn't need to wear clothes. And so instead of just like putting the gown on, she strips completely down. She also really comes on to him too. So there's that. Yeah, and he doesn't really know how to cope with that either. So, but don't get too attached to her, because the police show up 2 days later and they want to know what he knows about her because she's been murdered.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the premise of the series, like they're all like dark, like murders or dark, events that he has to figure out and he has to investigate.
So how he gets dragged into this, and reluctantly, because this is not his world and it's not one he ever wanted to get involved in, it does make him understand some of his own flaws, and kind of it fleshes him out as a person more to get involved in it. But when the police show up 2 days later, they're pretty much accusing him of, like, you're the last person we can find to have seen her alive. What do you know about this? And so he has to clear his own name and say, hey, I just met her. I don't know her. Brand new patient. Never seen her before. And then he kind of gets pulled in and pulled in and pulled in to helping figure out what happened to her.
So is there no spoilers, but is there like a person or a cult or something involved?
Yeah, there are people involved.
Okay.
And
Is
there's
that
different.
kind of consistent throughout all the novels, or are there new things that happen?
There are new things that happen, completely new scenarios every single time. Sometimes, you got a psycho killer in one. Sometimes you got Russian spies in another one. They're all different. The scenarios are different.
Okay, all this is a diversion from his normal day job.
Oh yeah, completely.
So it is becoming more acclimated to this world of investigating all sorts of strange things. Is he like, oh, another one I got to deal with? What's
Pretty
going
much.
on?
Yeah, but in the process, he befriends the homicide detective that he works with in this first case. They get to be friends. And so some of them he gets sucked into because he signs on as a medical consultant with the police department. A couple of them he gets sucked into because they're people he knows. So, like in the third book in the series, one of his colleagues, one of the doctors he works with, has this daughter who is in college, and she goes down to Florida to work for the summer, and she and her boyfriend go out one night to pick up a pizza and they don't come back. So in that book, we're dealing with some human trafficking issues and some drug running, and that kind of seedier side of things. And so Matthew, of course, jumps a plane, and that one he drags the homicide detective into. So that one goes the other way around.
Would you say it's a little bit more like a detective, thriller, fantasy, horror? Like, how would you describe it?
It's not fantasy, and it's not horror, because I'll tell you, I have an overactive imagination, and I could absolutely write horror, but if I did, I would never sleep. I value my sleep, so I don't write horror. It bumps up against it a little bit sometimes. It's definitely suspense, it's mystery, it's thriller, but it's not horror. So yeah, some of the books, keep you, well, pretty much I think they all keep you on the edge of your seat wanting to know what happens next. And I throw Matthew into some really horrible situations. The fourth book in the series, I guess, is probably the creepiest one because they are dealing with a psycho killer, and that's Iced. And the front of that book has, it's probably the most interesting cover too, a woman who's upside down, and she looks kind of surprised and her eyes are open, but she's very dead because they found her body that had been frozen and then dumped in a heated pool. And that's how they found her. Her fingertips have been frozen off, so they don't know who she is or how she got there. And that one, that's the psycho killer one where they're dealing with a guy who's just got a few screws loose.
A few screws loose. What do you find your main audience is? It's like often people are surprised who the audience is, but like, is it like teenagers? Is it young adults? Is it male? Is it female? Like, do you notice any sort of like pattern for the people who like read your stuff?
It's probably primarily women, maybe 30, 40s. I have been surprised repeatedly as we travel to like book fairs or when I have speaking engagements at some of the people who approach the table and are really interested. So my youngest readers tend to be around 11 and male. I don't know why 11 is the magic age, but I can just about look at a kid who walks up to the table or whatever and is looking at the books and say, "How old are you? You're about 11, aren't you?" I don't know why, but 11-year-old males are drawn to these books in this series. And then I had one guy who I'm not sure how old he was. He might have been in his 60s. He was kind of a grizzled older guy. Came running up to us at one of the book fairs and said, "I'm so glad you're here. I was looking for you. I want your latest book." And I said, "Wonderful. Thank you. Great to meet you." But I honestly didn't think when I saw him come running up that he was coming to me. I thought he was going to somebody on one side of me because they had other material. I think one of them was sci-fi. And anyway, I didn't think he was coming to me. So that was a surprise.
I noticed it. It's kind of strange because it seems like, especially in more rural areas, there's more of an audience, whereas a super metropolitan area, a lot of people, they don't read. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, I think a lot of people have gone to audiobooks, especially in the metro areas where they have a commute because they got to do something when they're commuting. And so I think they listen to a lot of podcasts like yours.
But
They listen to drive time radio. I was a couple weeks ago on the big radio station up there with Taylor in the morning. And that apparently is a huge audience because it's a drive time, a commute time, and that's what people do. Yeah, you can't read if you're commuting. Well, I mean, I guess you could if you're on a subway, but not if you're driving.
because it's a little bit dangerous in some areas now to be like too involved in a book. But yeah, it's the world we live in now. It's strangely evolving. But all right, so what's the length of your average book? Like, you have a whole series out. Like, are they all roughly the same size? And if so, how long are they?
They're roughly the same size, and usually you do that by a word count. So, I mean, I can give you an idea of page count, but it's a 6 by 9 format, usually around 100,000 words.
Okay.
So 300 and some pages, just depending on how the chapters break out, that sort of thing. Yeah, so I've had people that have sat down and read one of these books in a day.
Right.
I don't read that fast. I couldn't do that, but I've had people to do it.
Wait, well, I used to, I don't know if this is an age thing, but I used to read much faster than I do now. Maybe also people are getting more complex with the stories. So I'm not entirely sure what it is, but I know as an author convention there was an editor I was talking to, and I was saying, yeah, I was talking about editing one of my novels and what they paid and all this sort of stuff, and she's like, oh well, I have a much better rate and whatever, all marketing, but anyways, she's like, how long is your novel? I said 340 pages. She's like, oh wow. So apparently, the average with a lot of people now is like 190 pages, which to me that's like barely scratching, novel territory. That's more like a novella. But
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. Again, maybe I'm old, but to me, like I remember, like every official novel was at least about 300 pages.
Yeah, and I think it depends on font size and everything too. I mean, there are a lot of variables to throw in there, and I usually go with the 12 point font just to be sure it's really readable to everybody. I don't have
Right.
large print versions of the book, but I do go with the 12-point font.
What do you do for line spacing? Like
So it's
one space, one and a half.
it's single space, but it's a little bit bigger than single. So there's a definition in there of however many pixels between the lines. So
Right.
it's single spaced, but I'll say single spaced in air quotes. So
Yeah, I find the everything used to be in like 10 or 11-point font, and this is probably because I'm getting old, but now I'm like, dude, why can't it be like in 12-point font? 'Cause I find
I'm
12-point
right there
font is
with
much
you.
better.
I'm right there with you. I like that 12-point font too. If my contacts are in, I can see it a whole lot better. If my contacts are out, I'm fine up close, but
Well, I have
not so
reading
much.
glasses I have to wear. I also do art, so I have to put the glasses on while I do the art. But um, do you go with like third person? Do you go with first person?
So it's third person, but it's that, like sitting over your shoulder perspective. So you're following Matthew around.
So like first, like third person present tense.
Exactly. Yeah, right, right. So that third person present, so that you're following him around, you're getting his thoughts, you're getting his how he perceives things and how he processes things. Um, and I do, like I said, I throw him into a lot of really bad situations, and I've researched them all very carefully. So my husband's a little worried, especially with the fourth book in the series. That's called Christmas Punch, and somebody gets poisoned in that one. So I did a whole lot of research on all the poison. My husband swears we're on the FBI watch list for all the things I Google. And then for the things that you can't Google, I just go find an expert. So like that one I was talking about a minute ago, Iced, that has the woman's body that was in that condition. You can't Google that. You can't say, so how long would a person be dead and what would their bodily condition be like under these circumstances. So I had to go talk to the North Carolina medical examiner for that one and just kind of get her help setting up. So what's the time frame? What condition would a body be in? How much decay? How much, what would a body look like if this had happened? So I had the experts. The one I mentioned a minute ago about the girl in Miami, that one's called MIA, which is kind of a play on words because it's missing in action, and also the Miami airport code. That one I went to a former NSA agent, because you also can't Google, and you probably shouldn't, because if you really want to get on the FBI watch list, I think this would do it. Like, how do you traffic out of the country? Because it's much easier to traffic people in than to traffic out. So yeah, I would probably be on the FBI watch list for that one. That you can't Google. So I kind of set up the scenario, and then I talked to a former NSA agent who had been heavily involved in all of this stuff, and he validated it and gave me some tweaks and some suggestions. So all the horrible things that I do to Matthew are very well researched to make them real. So the storyline is completely
I think
fictitious.
research is very important, and
It is.
I'm always surprised. Like I remember, I was at one author convention, and there was a panel where it's like three authors or four authors talking. One was like, "Yeah, I never do research." I'm like, "Really? Well, I'm never going to read your book." Because like whenever I did a story about Loch Ness, but I waited until I did a vacation and traveled there to do the story.
Ooh,
So like I know what the environments were like. I mean, it's
yeah.
not possible to go everywhere you write about, but like if you can, that's the best. Like I had one scene in one book where a guy has to break into a gas station to our pump. So I had to go to the gas station attendant. I'm like, how do you start the pumps? And it turns out it is different between old school pumps and new school. But yeah, I think research is very important because not only does it bring emphasis to your story, but it also, you're not going to get called out. Like there's nothing worse than getting called out. Like I remember I was reading 20,000 Leagues or 2,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and like he's
Yeah.
talking about all this all this like underwater flora and fauna and whatever, and he's like naming it and describing it. And I'm like, oh, that's great. And then I found out he just made all that up.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And I was like, so I spent all this time and some of the reading was almost like textbook like. It wasn't like carefully evolving the story. And I was like, so I spent all the time reading basically your garbage.
Yeah, because it's not real. Well,
Yeah.
you also don't, so right, you don't ever want to get called out on things like, police procedure. Like, it's not a clip, it's a magazine.
Right.
And so when I
My
wanted to
dad,
know,
my dad's huge on guns, and he's ex-military too. He did 30 years in the military, but
oh, wow.
he'd watch stuff like the A-Team, like where they shoot like 60 rounds and they have like a sixth round.
Yeah, and you're counting it and going, no way.
Yeah, or they're firing a gun like this. Like you'd be deaf. First of all, you'd be deaf. Second of all, you'd break your hand. Yeah,
Or your face when it, yeah.
yeah.
So I've done a lot of research into that too because I'm not military and obviously I'm not ex-police. I did like 22 years in corporate America at IBM. So like the farthest thing removed from any of that. And so one of the things that I
Well, you've been to
researched,
the shooting range.
yes, I have done that.
Okay. See, a
So
little bit of research, yeah.
no, a lot of, yeah. So yeah, first person research,
A
not as
little bit of
much, but
hands-on research, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I found a police procedural from North Carolina online that describes all the stuff about like if you're using your own personal weapon on the job, how, what that looks like and how keep it clean, check it in, it has to stay there, what all the procedure is for that.
Right.
So that I can make that real. And then in this last book, that main character, well, the other main character, the homicide detective that I was talking about, he is ex-military, as is his family. So I had to go to some of the experts to get things like, when you have all of the decorations on a uniform, where does it go? How does it line up? How do I make that real? So it's like an eighth of an inch down on the pocket, and I had all of the
Oh, wow, yeah.
I consulted because you can't Google that either. I tried, and so then I
Yeah.
had to just go find people to ask because
Deep dive
sometimes
is good, yeah.
but what you don't want to do is take your reader out of the story. So
Yeah.
if you get something like that foundationally wrong, not only will you get called out on it, but the people who are reading it who know better, you've already taken them out of the story. You've taken
Exactly,
them
yeah.
down a bunny trail, and that's not what you
You've
want to do.
lost it. Like
Yeah.
you lost their suspension of disbelief. Like they're reading along, they're buying everything, they're like, wait a minute, that doesn't
Yep.
happen like that.
Yep. And now they're out of the story. Now you've
Yeah.
taken them down a bunny trail. And what you want them to do is keep like turning pages and not be able to put it down. And if you do something like that, you just have taken a whole bunch of readers out of the story. Same thing with some of the medical stuff because this this character, this protagonist, is a doctor, I've had to do a lot of research and then go ask the experts. Like during COVID, how did you handle, procedures for seeing patients? Did you continue to see them? Like what did you do? So I've had to go find experts a lot of the time to answer questions that I don't know the answers to, and you can't go search on it online.
I agree. I think more people, even when they're like, "Oh, I think I know how it goes," they should really do the research. Like, the one example I'll bring up is like the first thing that got me published, like back in 2010, was there was a guy, like at the time I was in like all the tattoo magazines, so there was a guy that wrote a horror novel with a tattoo artist in it. So he got a hold of me and he's like, "Can you read this and tell me if it's a realistic portrayal?" And like everything in there was not a realistic portrayal. I was like, tattoo artists would never do this, they would never do that. Like, I mean, fortunately he listened to me and he changed
That's what I was going to ask, if you took your advice after you gave it to him.
But you got to, because otherwise it's like, if I was reading it and he never made it into his revisions, I'd be like, "Oh, this is garbage." That would be like 10 pages in the book.
Yep, and then that's a do not finish for you. That's I'm putting it aside, because if he got this wrong, who knows what else is wrong in here.
And I'd probably talk shit about it to all my friends. So, yeah, you definitely have to get it right. You're right.
Yep, so there's research, just depending on the subject in the book, that's gone into every single one of them to make the scenarios valid. Even though the storyline's completely fictional, the whole surrounding underlying scenario has to be valid. And even there's one that if you read that one, Forbidden Relics, you might think, no way, this is too far-fetched. I promise you it's not. It's real. But there really are Russian spies who come over here posing as pastors in churches. That's good.
I think people would be surprised at how far people go.
Yeah. Yeah. So I edited.
The depths of humanity are endless. All right, so if people are interested in your stuff, do you have a website? Are you all over social media?
I do, and I am. The website is cypressrivermedia.com. Cypress like the tree. Right. And then I'm Lee Clark author, just all together, all over all the social media. I'm not on Twitter or X or whatever that is now, but I'm on
whatever it's called now.
Yeah, the social platform formerly called Twitter, Yeah. I'm on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and TikTok. I don't have anything yet out on YouTube, but maybe I should consider that.
I think YouTube, like if you have like a podcast, then you get a bunch of followers and then people take a look. But like if you just started a channel, I don't know. Like maybe it'll be good, maybe it won't. I couldn't tell you. But Facebook is definitely good. Like a lot of people pay attention. It seems like authors pay a lot of attention to Facebook. The people more into like comics and stuff like that, they also pay attention to Instagram. But like I see a few less authors on Instagram. Like maybe they like that big format where they can read what it's about and visualize it. I'm not sure. Well, I've had absolutely no luck on LinkedIn. Like everything I get is like spam. Like, we want to market this for you. We want to market that for you.
I've gotten a lot of that too. I know what you're saying. I did have a presence there just from my past life. So I created a page out there on LinkedIn. But yeah, I'm with you. There actually are a lot of authors on Instagram. And I think, when you're talking about what to move from to go on to YouTube, for an author, it probably is lives, like going live on Instagram, either with some subject or with another author, and then probably porting that over to go to YouTube. So I think for an author, that might be
probably a good idea. Yeah,
that might be the path.
I should do that. Yeah, but. All right, so throw out your website so everybody can go visit you, throw money at you.
Yes, please. Yeah, so the website has information about the books. It has reviews about the books. It has ways to sign up to get on my newsletter, which I promise I'll only send it out once a month. I don't like throws trash at people all the time. It's usually just a once a month. Here's what's happening. Here are the promotions. Here are the giveaways. Here's some free downloadable ebooks. Here's appearances, places that I'm going to be, or reading or panel discussions or whatever. There's a place to sign up for that. And what am I missing? Oh, ARC and the street team, the launch team, there are places to sign up for both of those out there. So yeah, you can see the books reviewed. You can see pictures of the covers and descriptions of them. That's all there on my website.
Okay, and tell everyone that's listening what the website location is.
It's Cypress, CYRPRESS, rivermedia.com.
Okay, awesome.
All run together, nothing in between.
And what is it? You're on Facebook. It's the same tag. Wait, what are you under on Facebook?
Facebook is Lee Clark Author.
Okay.
And Instagram is Lee Clark Author. And LinkedIn is Lee Clark Author. And guess what TikTok is?
Lee Clark Author?
You got it.
I'm just taking a wild guess here. Yeah.
I know, isn't that a shot in the dark?
But not on Twitter or X or Blue
Whatever
Sky
that is this week. No.
All right. Well, do you have anything else you want to throw out to the social sphere? Like anything you want to tell people about that they should check out?
Well, definitely check out the book series. I will say, if you are a purist, and some people are, I mean, I tend to be too, so I get this. If you're a purist and you have to start at the beginning of a series, you're going to want to go pick up Dead Spots. That's the one I was describing earlier where, poor Matthew's just living his life and has this nudist, gorgeous woman throw herself at him. If you're not a purist and you don't care about reading them in order, they do all stand alone. Iced is probably the creepiest one. And then Killer Convergence is the newest one that just came out last month. So it's not even a month old yet. And it stands alone and it ties up a lot of the other loose ends.
Are these on Amazon?
They are. They're orderable.
Like Amazon and fine bookstores everywhere? Yes,
and fine bookstores everywhere. And if you go in your favorite bookstore and you don't see it, just ask for it. They can order it. Okay. And I would actually love for you to do that. They're also downloadable as ebook all over the place, so you can search for the books and they're in Barnes and Noble, Amazon, Barnes and Noble. They're all over. Google, Apple.
And by the way, everyone should write a review. Like, book authors thrive off reviews.
Yes. And the Amazon algorithm thrives on reviews. So if you don't have a certain number of reviews up there, your book is not going to get put up in front of other people who like that genre. So yes, authors thrive on reviews for multiple reasons. One, because they like to read them. And then two, because if you don't have a certain number of reviews, your book doesn't get picked up by the Amazon algorithm. So very important to review.
Very important.
Thank you for that.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for being on the podcast. And do you have anything else you want to throw out there?
I think we pretty well covered it.